Up its cash. So I've got a specific clip and I want to talk about because I think it's a good impetus for talking about short versus long-term decision making in League. So in League of Legends, there's often a panic to get short-term resources. You see people extend for waves all the time or go for one or two more jungle camps, and typically it ends up often being a mistake if they're saying it that way, right? If someone says, I need this wave, I need this wave, just give me a second. They're almost always going to be late to something more important, or they're going to be late back to their lane. And this is a great example of when I think somebody is overstaying way too much. So let's watch this real quick, start to finish, and then I'm going to explain why I think it is such a mistake, personally. So we have tempo, right? We have the wave shoved in. We have double Gwen's HP, and we're playing Mbessa. We force Gwen to crash the wave, and then we ward for jungle, wait for the next wave to show up, wait for it to crash into our wave so we can push it faster, shove the wave, and then reset. Gwen immediately TPs back, catches our freeze. We have to reset, and this is the game state. So I don't have the clip recorded. This isn't in my replay file, but what happens is that Gwen freezes, eventually slow pushes, and gets about a 5 minion XP lead and about a 20 minion gold lead, right? She gets plate pressure, she gets grub pressure, and we end up losing the lane off of this, and then an unfortunate counter gank, an unfortunate counter gank timing that happens later in the lane. Let's talk about why I think this is like a big issue, right? So, right here, we're waiting a bit. We're not shoving the wave immediately, right? So this is already a very small amount of wasted time, but an auto attack wasted is still an auto attack wasted. So 403, he hits a minion. When he's an auto late, this should have killed the melee creep, and now it doesn't, right? So one more auto. Then we start using abilities on the wave. But then we slow push a bit, and now at 418, the wave is finishing. So that's 15 seconds to kill a small wave. We miss a minion. We don't use our abilities to pressure or poke Gwen in any particular way. We're just shoving the wave. But if we were going to fast shove this wave, we should have committed to it instantly. So that's a couple seconds wasted. So we'll count that as 2 seconds. 3 seconds. Miss 2 or 3 autos on the wave. Not a huge deal. And then from 418, we're going to wait an additional like 16 seconds before we start hitting this wave. 15, 16 seconds. So conservatively, that's 15 seconds wasted, right? Including pushing the wave, that's maybe 18 to 20. Then we're going to Mbessa the wave, best we can, and we're going to reset. Gwen has TP, so Gwen TPs back and holds the wave. There are a couple big issues with this. The first one is that the clear, play pattern, this was always going to happen, right? We were always going to shove. It was always going to be on cannon wave, which means it's going to be late. And then we're always going to try to take our reset because we haven't reset and Gwen's reset twice now, right? So she's clearly got all of her gold spent. She's up an Amptome, a Ruby Crystal, she's got a potion. But Gwen also always has TP, so she always catches this wave in time, right? During the 12 seconds or so that we are waiting, Gwen is clearing the wave and then resetting. Gwen is doing something the whole time, right? So this is 12 seconds that essentially we hand directly to Gwen. We've put a ward down, but that's it. We haven't done anything else, right? So why is this such a mistake? Because time is a resource. So when you are playing League of Legends, spending time doing nothing is always bad, right? The concept of tempo, the concept of just getting more stuff, right? Moving around on the map faster is really, really core to playing League. Boots are some of those powerful things in League of Legends, and yeah, they help you fight in position, but they also help you move faster. Synchronized Souls, all they do is macro, and they're the best boots in the game right now, in my opinion. I think they're going to get nerfed very, very soon. So to give your opponent a significant amount of time is basically the same as deleting 20 seconds of resources. Now, is this losing 20 seconds of CS here? No, but it's losing 8 seconds of reset and 12 seconds of coming out of base. So half a reset? More than half a reset easily, right? Top lane reset should be about 35 seconds, maybe a little less with the home guard change. So we're missing out there, right? We're missing out on a lot of tempo. We're missing out on resources. Now, if we do reset here, there's a couple things that could happen. So let's say even though we slow push the wave a little bit, at 418, we move into a bush and we reset. So if we have our cooldowns and Gwen tries to walk up to the bush, she has to flash or die. She also is still in the lane, which means she has not reset and TP'd yet, which means we will have priority coming into the cannon wave. Then if Gwen wants to take the time to reset and teleport, we are going to have time to start the shove. And even if she's ahead in health, it's pretty hard for Gwen to trade into a minion wave with no flash, and it might put her really behind if our Ivern comes top. So there's something there, right? If we back off a little further, start a reset at 424 or 5, and force Gwen to come chase us and miss an entire wave of minions, then she's missing an entire wave of minions and still not resetting. If we decide to shove this wave and we shove it faster, right? Let's say we shove it now. What if it's dead now, right? We hit the Mbessa Q, maybe we use our autos a little better or something, right? I didn't watch this too closely. I didn't see exactly the micro of how we could have shoved faster, but this is about 300 health, so maybe 300 health of minions faster. And Gwen's TP has just finished, right? So maybe she wouldn't have been able to freeze it. The freeze doesn't look particularly close to me. I think she could have dragged these minions out anyway, but it's possible that we would have been able to lose it. However, even if we had lost this, resetting on Cannon Wave means that, like, Cannon Wave reset means the wave is more likely to stack and push back to you, right? So in that way, Cannon Wave reset is good. It also gets us more gold. We don't see what gold we reset for here, but I mean, it's at least 800, right? So it allows us to be even with Gwen's gold, and maybe we weren't without it. But we're going to lose a lot, no matter what happens when we reset here. We are losing minions. In this example, this is against, let me be clear, this is against like a low diamond player, so this guy is not playing perfectly optimally. We're in comms with the jungler, we have flash, and we're going to lose 20 CS in a counter matchup. This play gives a large amount of advantage later in the game to get a small amount of advantage right now. I think that is almost always a bad play in League of Legends, because the game never ends in the next 60 seconds until it does. During the entire early game, if you are put behind by a significant margin, you will accrue resources slower. Your opponent will accrue resources faster, right? They can finish their boots faster, they can get more damage, which allows them to clear waves better. They can contest you off waves or move to objectives better because they have advantage. They don't need to spend their TP to lane. They can go to Dragon, they can go to Grubs. All of this is given to your opponent if you give them a lead that's more than maybe 15 CS, right? You give them a component lead and they're able to take it a long way because of how League of Legends works. So in return for getting a very small advantage right now, you were giving a huge advantage over to the enemy. If you would reset, what would happen instead, right? So let's look at the wave, the game state and the wave state right here. So Gwen has not yet TP'd back. TP also takes 9 seconds from base to top lane now. So 8 seconds to reset after the wave dies under turret. And we're going to pause the moment we see all of the minions die. So we're going to get an exact timer on this as best we can. Okay, 427. So if she walks back, 428, she starts a reset. 436, she finishes her reset. TP's in 444. So what's happening at 444 in the game? Wave is right here, right? And you can look at our minions. We have lost 2.5 minions. We're hard pushing. So maybe we'd have lost all 3 melees by 444. But we also would have based at 430, right? From 418 to 422, we spend 4 seconds walking out of Gwen's way. She has to let us hit the wave up until 426. So we're 4 seconds into our base away from turret, and Gwen can't stop us. We reset at 434. We have 10 seconds with home guards to get back. So we're probably at tier 2 turret. And Gwen's TP hasn't even finished, right? Yeah, so Gwen's TP finishes now at 449, 8. So at 452, she hits the wave, maybe. 4-3? Yeah, maybe 452 to 3. She would hit the wave. Maybe our cannon's halfway dead. Enemy cannon's halfway dead. And we're almost back, right? So we've lost 3 melee creeps. We've lost 3 melee creeps of EXP. Gwen has also lost those melee creeps. Instead of trading our 25 seconds for her 15, or 30 for her 20, or 30 for her 18, and losing 1 to 3 melee creeps, we have lost waves. What about quantifying it from perspective of like actual character resources? So cooldowns, items, and teleports. Well, there are cooldowns and items. Well, the only thing that gets burned here is teleport. So Gwen turns teleport into 3 waves of minions, 3 waves of gold of minions. Gwen turns teleport into 400 gold. And a 400 gold strict advantage, right? This is gold that she would get anyway, but you don't because of the way that you've played the lane. So if you miss out on 400 gold top lane, that's probably far worse than missing 2 melees of gold in EXP. Maybe 3 melees of gold in EXP, right? What if she fast pushes? Then you're even more likely to catch the wave, because just like when we deleted the wave, and we only had 2 melee creeps left, if Gwen decided to fast push, when she got back now, we would definitely have Arcana, and we may even have our 3rd melee. And all that we're burning is her teleport, which is a massive cooldown. Teleport is a huge deal. We're playing a short trade champion that wants to get in, take more health than we deal, and then get out. That's how we play against Gwen. We both have flashes, so disengaging is pretty easy to do. And as a result, we are almost guaranteed to get our trade patterns off if Gwen walks up to the wave. If Gwen burns TP here and we don't lose a significant advantage, every other time we trade, which typically means every other time we get up to the wave, Gwen is either killed the next wave, thanks to our combo, because we're Mbessa and we have anything, and this champ does a ton of damage, or Gwen has to reset, take a bad reset, and we get to push an additional lead. All of these things are shut off to us the moment that we decide to push this wave, regardless of whether we are able to crash this or not. We are shut off from, the advantages that teleport will give us, because Gwen will still stack a slow push, and for a brief period of time, the period of time where we and Gwen both hit 6, we will not be able to pressure the way we're supposed to. We are giving Gwen more tempo than Gwen is giving us at any point in time during this trade. Now, I want to make this clear. I am not flaming my top laner here. I do not think that he's terrible or whatever because he made this play. What I do think is that this is a very short-sighted play, and I think that League is not a short-sighted game. I think that most players play League as a short-sighted game, and you have to break that mentality if you want to win more games. Gaining a small advantage to lose a big one is a huge part of the reason that I feel like low elo players often lose. When I play in Plat or Emerald, I regularly get killed. I'm terrible at judging when people kill me, and I have a bad habit of just dying. I die a lot. More than most players. And again, I play fine skill on D2, D1 lobbies on my main, but I just die in Plat or Silver. But I always have the ability to do something, regardless of how behind I am, because the enemies are looking short term. They push waves. They take aggressive trades. They buy items that allow them to snowball early game, like I had a Pantheon buy Hubris against me recently. I was playing Singe. That didn't end well. So, yes, it's 5s. Yes, people are going to play more correctly, but it doesn't change the fact that if you play short-sighted and your enemy plays long-sighted, like Gwen taking a slow freeze, then shoving the wave and getting another reset, while she's 20 CS up, then you are going to lose. That's it. If you have any comments about this, I think this is a really interesting topic. I think it's really important to talk about short-term versus long-term in League, because it is so lost so much of the time on players, I think. And especially on lower ranked players, I think this is something I would really want to impart during coaching. It takes a lot of knowledge to play long-term properly. And so that's part of the reason, obviously, you don't see many players in lower ranks do it, because knowledge is the biggest thing gatekeeping low versus mid versus high versus very high elo. But it's still worth talking about. It's still worth turning League into a strategy game in your mind. That's it. See you later.